Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We have seen the nature of the Atma, which is the same as the nature of the Jnani, which is the same as the nature of Ishvara. We are in that section from verse 13 in chapter 5 to about 21. This will continue. The characteristics of a Jnani, meaning the Jnani Lakshana is the same as the Atma Lakshana. And Atma being Brahman, being Ishvara, that also will be the same. Everything will be the same. So now this unfoldment is being done from the standpoint of the Atma to see, for everybody to see how the Atma is akarta, not the doer, not the recipient of the doings either, and not in any way what is that? Not in any way caught in the papa punya, which is the phala, karma phala, etc. Not at all. Completely free. And then, of course, it looks like one is living in two different realities. One is this reality of the Atma, which I can accept, and then which I can accept at least on the level of understanding, okay, it is there, something like this, something called the Atma is there, and it is somewhere, and then it doesn't have a location, it is whole, it is free. I can accept that. But then the everyday lived reality for me, says this person, the everyday lived reality is what? Is fraught with delusion, is fraught with being unable to see what is the reality here, what is the situation. One is confused, one is deluded, one has a lot of complexes centered on the self. And so it's almost like there are two parallel paths which never meet. That is the definition of parallel lines we learned when we were children. What was that? Parallel lines are those that never meet. So here is Brahmatma, and here is what? The Atma completely enmeshed in the Sharira, enmeshed in the body, enmeshed in the raga, enmeshed in the dveshas, entangled completely. And this seems to be the lived reality, and this one is what? This one seems to be an ideal that is at best dreamed of, never really gained. But then if that was the truth, then what use is this reality that can never be gained? Why should we spend our time studying this, looking at this, and bothering ourselves? Why spend any time at all wondering about what this is all about? This is of no use. And so therefore what? So therefore we have to find a different explanation which was given in the last verse. Ajnanena avritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. Jantavaha. Punaf jayate iti jantuhu punaf punarjayate. That which keeps on being born again mindlessly without really being in a position to think about its birth and why it is being born, without being able to introspect, etc. A creature not a human life. Because in the human life, even if you have got a human life once, the Shastra says you have infinite karmas. One has infinite karmas that will fructify in various and different kinds of lifetimes. And so, therefore, what? So, therefore, the Jantu, these creatures, they keep being born and born again. And why do they get deluded? Why are they are in the state of delusion? And for that, the explanation is given: Ajnanena avritam. Even though every creature is Brahmatma, everyone is Brahman, from the smallest little jantu like virus, amoeba, bacteria, all the way to Lord Brahmaji, an exalted jiva. All of them are Brahman. But then why do these people not behave in this manner? Because the ajnanam is as though covering the knowledge. So that cover needs to be removed. This is what this is what was pointed out, and how to remove that cover, etc., was also given, because this is through this was already given in the 4th chapter. Go to the Guru, tad vidhi, know this by pranipata, surrender, pariprashna, asking questions, and seva. Know this through these kinds of methods of surrendering to the teacher, etc. This was given. And so now the solution needs to be understood properly, and this is the time to get rid of all the other options, so-called options, in the gain of the knowledge. In the gain of the knowledge, there are all these so-called options, and the options shine as long as one has not done what is called Purushartha Nishchaya, determining what I really want and how to get it. And so now, since it has been pointed out that the ajnanam is what preponderates, and therefore it needs jnanam. And what is this jnanam? Going to a vantage point cognitively in our minds, going to a vantage point from which from where I can inhabit the reality of myself being Ishvara, non-separate from Ishvara. And I gave the example of taking off in a plane, flight to nowhere. Remember? Yeah. And so this flight to nowhere, you take off. It is not really a flight. It's not really going anywhere. Atma is you. But it's a different vantage point. So from the standpoint of the body, mind, sense complex, all the problems look big, like the redwood trees. They look huge. You have to look up, and then they are 300, 400 meters tall. Huge. And so therefore there is the problems in life look like that. Oh, the body has this, and oh, the mind has this. And then if you go to the doctors, there'll be all kinds of complex diagnoses also, and all that is fear producing, especially when they say this is not curable, this is, you just have to manage the condition. And in fact, what you have been managing, the condition for so many lifetimes, called samsara, there is no greater disease than samsara. And in fact, samsara is not even a disease. Ajnanam is the disease of which samsara is a symptom. It's a symptom. Samsara is nothing but a symptom. And so, since this ajnanam disease is being managed, and that is what has to be got rid of, and thankfully here there is a cure. And so here it says we have to understand that the antidote for ignorance is Atmajnanam, and that solution is now going to be asserted in the next mantra, which is 5:16, 16th verse. ज्ञानेन तु तदज्ञानम् ज्ञानेन तु तदज्ञानम् येषां नाशितमात्मनः येषां नाशितमात्मनः तेषामादित्यवज्ञानम् तेषामादित्यवज्ञानम् प्रकाशयति तत्परम् प्रकाशयति तत्परम् तद अज्ञानम् येषां Tad ajnanam. What kind of ajnanam? Atmanah ajnanam. This is very, very clear. The Gita Shruti is making this extremely clear. Atmanah ajnanam. Not any other kind of ignorance. Ignorance of the self. So self-ignorance is what is talked about here. Jnanena. Two, whereas yesham, by whom tad atmanah ajnanam, the ajnanam of the atma, the ajnanam of the atma, yesham, by whom the ajnanam of the atma has been destroyed, nashitam. So those by whom the ajnanam of the Atma has been destroyed. How? Jnanena. Here again, this is the mukhya sadhanam of Atma Jnanam. It is given. It is the only sadhana. All the other things, all the other so-called yogas, the karma yoga, this yoga, that yoga, all these help, but indirectly. How do they help? They help one prepare for this knowledge. Because first I have to know I need this knowledge, then I have to get connected to this knowledge. Then I have to be interested in what I'm studying. You can't drag a person and make them sit in the class just because they need this knowledge. Everybody needs this knowledge, but I have to embrace it with a certain enthusiasm, hope, and desire. Just sitting like that in the doldrums, oh, samsara won't go, and this is terrible, and what is happening to me, like this. You have to be able to take off a little bit. And that which helps one to see that vantage point where the trees become so small, vrikshakaha, all of them become small, and the trees representing the samsara, trees representing problems, and over which I have no control, and over which I cannot, overcome, by which I am overwhelmed. All these are gone through Atma Ajnanam. Atma Jnanam. So Jnanena. And so Jnanena Nashitam Yesham Atma Ajnanam. So the antidote here is this. And I don't know why it takes so much effort to understand this when we have no problem understanding this when it comes to our own, everyday transactional life. If there is a bacterial infection, they will take a little test. They will do a little test of the bacteria, and then they will say, what is it which antibiotics is this sensitive to? And then certain antibiotics are cancelled. Why? They are cancelled because they don't work for this particular kind of bacteria. And so then whichever one, they will do all these lab tests, whichever one it is sensitive to, that antibiotic is given. And when that is given, nobody fights with the doctor. Why are you giving me, why are you giving me this? Why are you giving me penicillin? Why don't you give me something else? And then so nobody fights, because we trust in the expertise of the doctor that this is the antidote to this. And similarly, for ajnanam, the antidote has to be jnanam and not any other jnanam. You can't sort of say, I will drive away atma ajnanam by the knowledge of what? Kundalini. Kundalini will give what Kundalini gives. Kundalini will give tranquility, Kundalini will give so many other things, but it will not give Atma Jnana. Because the rising of the Kundalini, etc., all that is based on karma. You have to breathe a certain way, you have to do certain kriyas, all these things. But still there is a fascination for that. Okay, have your fascination. No problem. Have your fascination. But then this is the antibiotic. Antibiotic is Atma Jnanam. But somehow we don't understand this. When it comes to self-knowledge, which is the most dear and the most critical thing, critical antidote to Ajnanam, we are willing to keep on trying everything except self-knowledge. So this is what is being talked about in this verse, that there is nothing else. Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitramiha vidyate. We saw that in the close of the 4th chapter. And the same thing is being talked about, but here this time from the standpoint of those saints who have overcome the Atma Ajnanam. They are soaring high because they have identified the I with Atma, with Brahman, with Ishvara. And therefore they have destroyed this knowledge. In other words, they have not become saintly just because they have a large following or because they have some, what is that word? Charisma. You look at them and then you feel like following them. That is not the case. They have done the hard work, which now has to be done by everybody who wants this. And so, from this standpoint, what is talked about here is Yesham, by whom this Ajnanam has been destroyed, Tesham, for them, Adityavat Jnanam Prakashayati Param. Tat Param. So, Param means the ultimate. The Atma. The Atma shines like the sun. The glory of the I shines like the sun. And there is absolutely nothing at all that stops them from embracing this knowledge of the I and living the knowledge of the I. No longer are there two parallel realities, one ideal and one everyday, that is experienced every day. So just like when one is on the ground, what happens? The sky looks very cloudy, and one is also in the doldrums, so everything is cloudy, terrible. But then as soon as one changes the vantage point, what happens? Everything you find when you go up in the plane, then the clouds are covering not, the clouds are covering your vision, not the sun. Sun is fine. Sun is shining. Nothing can cover the sun. That's why the comparison here is Tesham Adityavajnanam Prakashayati Tatparam. And it cannot be dismissed by karma. Cannot be dismissed by karma, because we have seen in other texts like Atma Bodha, etc. Then avirodhataya. Why cannot it be Atma Ajnanam, self ignorance cannot be dismissed by karma? Why? Because it is avirodhataya. Avirodhataya means because of it being unopposed to karma. Avirodhataya karma na avidyam vinivartayet. Avirodhataya, because action is not opposed to ignorance, action cannot destroy ignorance. Only knowledge can destroy ignorance. Vidya avidyam nihanti eva tejastimira sanghavat. So, only Vidya can destroy avidya like the sun destroying darkness. Avidya is darkness because I don't know, I take lot of wrong decisions and then I come in I come in my own way and then I have lots of problems regarding this. And so the avidya is what? The avidya is to be destroyed by vidya. This is the antidote. This is the specific antibiotic that is sensitive, and that's the only thing that will work. And so all the other karmas are to prepare for this knowledge alone. Because if you just do karma, nothing will happen. If you do the pradakshina of a temple, then that will give punya. That will not give Atmavidya. That will give punya to seek a teacher, etc. But then you have to seek the teacher, you have to gain the knowledge. And so this way, this is the only antidote, and that is what is being made very, very clear through this verse. And a very beautiful verse, very important verse also. And so these are the people, and the people are being talked about here because these are the people who have destroyed their ignorance and they have come to this knowledge, having they've come to this understanding of themselves as Brahman, having destroyed the ignorance. And more about these people is going to be talked about in the next verse. Let us see. तद्बुद्धयस्तदात्मानः तन्निष्ठा तत्परायणाः तद्बुद्धयस्तदात्मानः तन्निष्ठा तत्परायणाः गच्छन्त्य पुनरावृत्तिम् गच्छन्त्य पुनरावृत्तिम् ज्ञाननिर्धूतकल्मषाः गच्छन्त्य पुनरावृत्तिम् ज्ञाननिर्धूतकल्मषाः. Very beautiful and extremely important verse. In fact, it was a favorite of Pujya Swamiji's. It was oft quoted also by Adi Shankara. And in fact, a number of the names of our Swamis in this parampara have been based on this verse. So they have been based on this verse. Very, very nice verse. I'll tell you more about that. So let us look at the meaning of this. Okay. Tad buddhayah. Adi Shankara has a specific way of doing padavicheda for this. And so what does he say? Tasmin gata buddhihi yesham te. Yesham, for whom. So what is tat buddhaya? It is not referring to a buddhi. First, let us understand this. It's not referring to a buddhi. What is it referring to? It is referring to a person with a buddhi. And this is what is called Bahuvrihi compound. Bahuvrihi means it is describing not a buddhi or not an object, but actually the subject, the person. It's describing the person with that particular trait which is talked about here. And so tad buddhayah. Tad buddhayah means those whose buddhis yesham te. So for the buddhi for whom is tasmin eva gata. Tasmin gata. So tat means what? We have seen what tat means. Tat means Brahma. Tat means Ishvara. Tat means Atma. So this is how it is. And so Tat means Atma, Tat means Ishvara, Tat means Brahman. And so therefore what? Tad buddhayah means the people for whose buddhi is totally what? Totally in Brahman. What do you mean totally in Brahman? Meaning the buddhi means what? The thinking. Buddhi means thinking. Their thinking is nothing but Atma, Brahman. That's where their commitment is. That's where they are. That's where they are. They are called Tad Buddhayah. Tad Buddhayah. That's all they think of. That's where they are. Nowhere else they are. That's where their identity is, their refuge is, their whole demeanor is, and so they are not interested in anything else. So does that mean that they are only thinking Atma, Atma, Atma? No. They are very much in the world. They may be doing many other things, but their identity does not swerve from the Atma and get entangled into relationships such as son, daughter, wife, husband. And then what else? Son, daughter, wife, husband, friend, and all these responsibilities, employer, employee, etc. Even while doing all these things, they are totally free. So, in fact, there is one Tad Buddhananda. In the tradition, we have Tad Buddhananda. And then let us see the next one. So, Tadatmanaha. Tadatmanaha. There is one Tadatmananda as well in America. There is one Swami Tadatmananda. And so Tadatmananda. What is Tadatma? Adi Shankara says, Tadeva Param Brahma Atma Yesham Te. Tadatma means the Tadeva Param Brahma. That Brahman alone is the truth of whom? Is the truth for whom? Such people are called Tadatmana. Tadatmanaha means they have understood the truth of themselves as Atma. What kind of Atma? The one that is being described in these verses from 13 onwards. So, Tadbuddhayah, Tadatmanaha. And then Tannishtha. Tannishtha means Nishtha Abhiniveshaha. Abhiniveshaha means they are Abhiniveshaha entry, so to speak. Tatparyam. So they have totally, they have become one, become again in heavy quotes, become one with the Tannishtha means become one with the truth of themselves. Tasmin eva brahmani nishtha yesham te. So in the for whom the nishtha is in Brahman alone. Nishtha means nitaram sthitihi. So there is one Swami or Swamini, I think, Tannishthananda. Tannishthananda is there, Tad Buddhananda is there, and Tadatmananda is there. Tatparayanananda is not there because it's very long and difficult to call also. So I think that one is not that one is not there. But all the others are names of sannyasis, and even in the other names in the Bhagavad Gita, like Viditatma, Vijitatma, all these are names of sannyasis, beautiful names that Pujya Swamiji has picked out. So, tasmin eva nishtha tatparyam. Sarvani karmani sanyasya, Adi Shankara says in the Bhashya, Sarvani karmani sanyasya. They have renounced all actions. Why? Because that's how that identity can be established in Brahman, because they have no other irons in the fire. This is an expression meaning no other business to do, no other things to do, no other things to worry about. And so then tat parayanaha. So tat means tas, for whom, let me do it in English first. Tat parayanaha, param ayanam, brahma, brahma eva. Tat param ayanam brahma eva yesham te. For whom the ultimate end. Ayana means end. The ultimate end is Brahman, meaning themselves. The ultimate end is themselves alone. Nothing other than Brahman is the ultimate end. This is what the meaning is. This is exactly how to resolve that. Tat parayanaha. Tat parayanaha means they are, tadeva param ayanam paragatihi yesham te tat parayanaha. Then they only revel in the Atma, they have gained the end, and that is the only end. And so all the quest in life comes to the end. And then, one more, what is that? Tannishthaha tatparayanaha, gachanti. Gachanti means they go. Go again in inverted commas. There is nowhere to go. They go means what? When such people having these lakshanas of being totally committed to Brahman in all these ways in their lives, and who have seen the truth of themselves, who have understood and assimilated the truth of themselves, gachanti. When they drop this body, gachanti means there is nowhere to go. But when the body is dropped, apunaravrittim gachanti. They go, but they do not come back. They go, but there is no coming back to this world of strife, to this world of samsara, where you have to keep on doing this all over again, starting with the A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D, A for apple, B for bat, C for cat, D for dog. How many times to study? Life after life after life, sitting in some kind of KG classroom. Different classroom, different body, same kind of teacher. So many difficulties are there like this. And so therefore, tad buddhayaha, tadatmanaha, tannishtaha, tatparayanaha. These people of knowledge, these people who have understood this, when they drop the body, when the body of course will drop, for the one who is Tatparayana and for the one who is not Tatparayana also the body drops. What is the difference? The Atatparayana, the one who is not Tatparayana, will come back with a vengeance, will come back. Kshine Punya, when the Punya is gone, they will come back. Then they will just roam around, have a little tour, holiday out. They will just go stay in some nice Swarga and then back. But here, there is nothing to come back to. There is no reason to come back for. Why would you come back? If you've left a house, then why would you come back? Because there is unfinished business. That's the only reason to come back. Otherwise, what is there to come back? If you finish the business, you leave the house. You go to a conference in a city, in a different city than your hometown, let's say. And then you check, they have put you up in a hotel, you check into the hotel room, they give you a card, and then you just put that the card in the key slot, it will open. And then you stay there for 3-4 days, you attend all the meetings, you do all the inspections, you have to socialize with people, you finish all that. And then on the 4th day, check out. Check out means what? You give the key back, you pack your bags, you remove your suitcase out, you close the door and give the key back. You don't even look behind. You don't have a longing. Ayo, such a nice hotel room. I wish I could stay there only. You don't have that longing. Why? Because the business is finished. You are clear that you were just a visitor here. That is what apunaravritti means. You are just a visitor here. You are not somebody that is wanting to keep coming back here. Right now the business is finished. You give the key to the person at the reception desk, and then you walk out. If you come back, that means what? You have left something important behind, like your boarding pass, wallet. So things like that you have left behind. That's why to collect that you may come back. But then there is, really speaking, no coming back at all. Zero need to come back. There is no coming back because there is no business. Similarly, for the Jnani checks out of the hotel room called the body, nicely air conditioned by Bhagavan, well ventilated. If it gets too hot, it sweats it out. If it gets too cold, it puts on fat to protect itself. What a lovely body! What a wonderful, intelligent body! And then what? It has hands and legs. It can move about. It can do the business. And what is the business here? Of gaining Atma Ajnanam. That is the only business for which this human body has been incarnated. And then what? Having gained Atmajnanam, when you check out, when you when you give the keys back to Lord Yama, keys of this Sharira, in fact you don't have to give, you are booted out of this body, you are ejected out of the body. Lord Yama controls the eject button, and then you depart this body, and then what? No coming back. No reason to come back. You haven't left your purse behind. You haven't left your glasses behind. You haven't left your boarding pass behind. You have not left anything behind. There is no reason to come back to this body because the purpose for which this body was taken has been finished. Total, done, complete, gone. And so therefore what? So therefore there is nothing to come back to. And the Karana, this is what we mean by Karana Sharira. The Karana for the reincarnation is not there because the Karana Sharira is Atma Ajnanam, the causal body, gone. And so such people, to emphasize this so they don't come back, which means what? Everybody else will come back. Why? Unfinished business is there. Half-eaten food means karma. Half-eaten karma phala is there. Half-eaten karma phala, like an apple. Half-eaten apple is there. You have to go back and finish that apple. Oh, but in between the two janmas, it got rotten. Doesn't matter. That is what you have to eat. So you have to eat the fruit of action. Fruit of action is applicable until which time the action and result of action, this whole bluff is not called. The only way to call this bluff, which we take so seriously, karma, karma phala, etc., the only way to call this bluff is through Atmajnanam. And when the bluff is called, the game is over. One is free, shackleless, free, no chains, only the gain of Atmajnanam. And then so such people are described by Bhagavan as Jnana Nirdhuta Kalmashaha. Kalmashaha means what? Kalmashaha means Papa. Don't read try not to read the translation. I know we can't help it, but try not to read that, okay? Yeah, because it'll use words like this, supreme and all this. This is only used for petrol, okay? Now I never use these words. So you enjoy the text here so that you don't have to worry about Sanskrit, etc., and you can enjoy looking at it as it's being explained. But kindly, what should I say? Become tadbuddhayah, all of you, with regard to the text, okay? Tasmin texte eva buddhi yeshamte. Become the one for whom for the target is just the text, not the translation. So then, jnana nirdhuta kalmashaha. So kalmasha means papa. All the papas. Nirdhuta means washed away. Nirdhuta, destroyed. washed away. By what? Jnana. And so Adi Shankara will describe this as Jnanena nirdhutaha nashitaha kalmashaha papadi samsara karana doshaha yesham te jnana nirdosha kalmashaha. Saints, yatis, sages, jnanis, this is what is being described. So it's not the washing off of papa that is described, it's the people who have washed off the papa, they are the object of this description. Okay, so jnanena nirdhutaha. Nirdhutaha means destroyed, washed away. What? Kalmasha. Kalmasha, Adi Shankara says, papadi. Papa, punya even. Punya also, mostly papa, but punya because it turns into sorrow, that can also be talked about for the jnani. And then papadi, papa, and then kama, krodha, all these things. Samsara karana doshaha. So the fallacies of samsara, fallacies which are the cause of samsara. So samsara karana doshaha, those doshas that cause samsara. Fallacies that cause samsara such as papa, punya, and then kama, krodha, all these things. So those are called jnana nirdhuta kalmashaha. So they are this amazing. This is a wonderful verse. So mostly what? Completely focused on Brahman, directing their whole being to that, rooted in Brahman, and making Brahman their supreme goal. Gachanti, supreme goal here according to the translation, but their ultimate goal. So, ultimate goal for whom is Brahman, they can go, and having gone out of the hotel room, checked out, there is no reason to check back in. Another beautiful verse follows. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Brahmane Gavihastini, Brahmane Gavihastini, Shuni Chaivashvapake cha, Shuni Chaivashvapake cha, Pandita Samadarshinaha, Pandita Samadarshinaha. Here the demeanor of the person living in the world is described. In the earlier verse, we just had their demeanor, where their mental mindset, their mindset was described. Where is their mind? Where is their buddhi? Where is their commitment? And then such people don't come back. This was what was prophesied, and because this is the truth, because there is no unfinished business at all. And so in this verse, in the previous verse, it does not say how these jnanis live in the world, which is where our akanksha is. Our akanksha is, how do these jnanis negotiate the daily everyday reality of the world? How do they treat people? How is their demeanor, not their internal demeanor of being quietly committed to Brahman, which we cannot see. How can we see if somebody is committed to Brahman or not? We cannot see that at all. So we want to know, how does the Jnani conduct their affairs in the world? And this is a beautiful verse that talks about that. So, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. So first let us see this. Panditaha Samadarshinaha. Samadarshinaha means those who have samatvam. So here Pandita Lakshana, the characteristic of a Pandita, the description of a Pandita is given. And what is a Pandita? What is the Vyutpatti of the word Pandita? We saw in the second chapter, and also I think in the fourth chapter we saw that Panda Atmajnanam. Panda is Atmajnanam. Panda asti. Panda asti iti yesham te. Those who possess panda are called panditaha. Panda asya asti. So for whom there is panda. Panda means self-knowledge. So those possessed of self-knowledge are called panditaha. Even though in the colloquial languages you can say Pandit Ravi Shankar, the sitar maestro. So such titles are are given. Pandit Bade Gulam Ali Khan, like this we can say. So, but the Pandit is given out of respect for their art, for musicians, etc., dancers, etc. But strictly speaking, it means people who have self-knowledge. They are called Pandita. Who are they? Samadarshinaha. They have equanimity with regard to how they look at everything in the world. Not only is their inner makeup completely focused on Brahman not only are they completely focused on Brahman in their inner makeup, even how they relate to people, they see only Brahman everywhere. The question is why? Because they are Vidya Vinaya Sampanna. Vidya Vinaya Sampannaha, equipped with, endowed with Atma Jnanam, of course. That's why they are called Panditaha. But here, since they are endowed with Atma Jnana, then there are two things that they are endowed with in terms of their external demeanor. Of course, they are endowed with Vidya, but along with Vidya comes Vinaya, humility. This humility is extremely important because this can only come with Atma Jnana. Every other, every other body of knowledge, if a person excels in that body and if the person becomes a pandit in that area, then the chest comes out and then the demeanor the gait is also very, very overconfident gait. When you talk down to everybody, like, oh, I know more than anybody else, etc. It takes a lot of dharma, it takes a lot of karma yoga, and finally it takes the knowledge of the self to not show off anything. Because what is there to show off? Like I told you the other day, I have thrown the garbage. Is that something to talk about? I have thrown the garbage. Arey, that is not something to talk about. You don't call the news channels and say, please take a photo and a video of me throwing my garbage. I threw away 10 bags of garbage. In fact, one feels shy that one had 10 bags of garbage to throw. That is something which is very, very sad, that one had 10 bags of garbage to throw, and so therefore one feels a little awkward and shy. And so therefore this Vinaya, this humility has to come. It's a natural outcome of the knowledge of the self. As long as the self-knowledge is not fully, fully assimilated, then there is a strutting like a peacock. The peacock dances, showing off its feathers, etc. That's why the peacock becomes not only a symbol of beauty, but also vanity. So here, Vidya and vanity don't go together. Vanity comes because there is a certain insecurity. This Vidya is the one that reveals to you that you are the most secure person in not just in the neighborhood or in your community or in your society or in your country or in the world, but in the entire universe. Not only in the planet, but in the entire universe. This is what it reveals. And when it reveals that, what is there to show off? What is there to show off? Nothing to show off. What is there to show? And the showing comes because of insecurity. When I am the most secure thing, why will I jump around and tell everybody I am the most secure, I am the most secure, come to me? There's nothing to prove, because the fact that I want to do that shows that I am not secure. If I'm completely secure in who I am, then let's say, somebody gives me an award. Ah, taliyan, clap, clap, clap. Oh, you got an award. That makes no difference. Because what? I am infinite. Infinity plus award is what? Infinity. And then the next day somebody comes and snatches back the award. Sorry, we made a mistake. The award was not going to Svatmavidyananda. The award was going to another Vidyananda, some other Vidyananda. Since all the Anandas have similar names, we made a mistake. We want to snatch that award back and give it to somebody else. Take it, no problem. Because, so this is how it is. The person of knowledge, for them, this makes no difference. No difference at all. Because there are no flowers and no bricks. Why? Because the happiness is not world-centered. When my happiness is not world-centered, it is what? Self-centered happiness. It is centered on the I, on knowing this I as free of wanting an award, free of needing to be honored, free of wanting to show off something, free of being here, being there, going there, and wanting to be in the front of everybody in order to be noticed, in order to have a pat on the back, in order to, for people to sing my praises. That is all there until Vidya comes. And it's only Atma Vidya that bestows Vinaya. Because the Vinaya is also the awe. The humility is the outcome of this knowledge for another reason. Because one understands one is not the doer. I haven't done anything. This brilliant world, everything is just Ishvara. I am an extension of this Ishvara. Nothing has been authored by me. Therefore, humility. And all that is there is just revelry. It's awesome. It's wonderful. Everything is going according to plan. It's just so beautiful. There is nothing for me to do except take it all in. This is Vidya Vinaya Sampanna Panditaha. This is what it is. So then Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. So Samadarshinaha with regard to what? With regard to three things. Four things are pointed out. Four things are pointed out. With regard to four things, there is equanimity. As the people of knowledge go about in the world, what is that? Brahmana. Brahmana is the very highly regarded person. So generally what will happen? People will say, oh, namaste, namaste if a Brahmana is coming. But if another person a rag picker is coming, they will not even, greet that person. But here, with reference to the Brahmana, and then here one would think that this is a strange assemblage of objects. Gavi, with regard to cow, go. Go means cow. Gavi, with regard to the cow, and then Hastini, with regard to the what is that called? Elephant. Hastini. Hasti is elephant. Hastini, elephant. And then Shuni. Shuni means dog. Shwan, dog. Shuni, seventh case, Shuni, dog. With regard to the dog, Chaeva, and also Shwapak. Who is Shwapak? Shwapaka means Shwapaka. Adi Shankara has a very nice derivation for Shwapaka. Shwanam pachati iti. Shwapak. So Shushwanam Pachati iti Shvapakaha. The one who cooks the dog and eats the dog. So eats the dog. So eats the dog. And then so dog eater is called Shvapak. Dog eater. You know. And then dog eater is called Shvapak. So with reference to all these things, there is the sameness of demeanor, not only the sameness of demeanor, sameness of conduct, sameness of behavior. So this is the translation. And then let us see now little more in detail. So Brahmana represents the Sattva Guna. So with regard to people who are, Brahmana becomes the Upalakshana, becomes the stand-in for everyone who has Sattva Guna. Sattva Guna Pradhanaha Brahmana. I mean, ideally speaking, and so this is just a list of all these things, so we just have to take it like that. So, Brahmana, and then the cow represents Rajas. Cow represents Rajas, and then this one, the elephant, because it is slow moving with its with its trunk like this, slow moving, slowly its ears are flapping, huge animal. The elephant represents Tamo Guna. So this is the thing. So Sattva Guna, and then so these so in the cow represents Rajas, and then elephant etc. represents Tamas. So meaning what? The people of knowledge are beyond the qualities of the gunas. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, they are free of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas and the tendencies born of them. And then, so then what else? Shunihi, Shuni means dog, and dog cooker. They represent what is that? You know, just the worst of humankind, the lowest type and of humanity, because it's very difficult to it's difficult to eat animals in general, especially if you know where they are coming from and if you have seen them on the road and you have petted them, etc. But it is particularly difficult to eat a dog. Dog eating is very difficult because the dog is so interactive and it is harmless and it loves unconditionally, and so the dog eater is shunned by the society. Shunned by the society, and in fact, we heard somewhere in Southeast Asia few years back there was a dog meat trade that had to be shut down by the governments. It was in fact all over the Southeast Asia. It was there rampant in Thailand, Malaysia, etc., and Indonesia also. And then the governments had to come together and have a conference and shut down the dog eating trade, because it's just so disgusting, very reprehensible, and so therefore, but for the jnani samadarshina, there is no judgment. There is no judgment, because they see everything. First, there is no judgment. Why? Because they see Brahman in everything, number one, and number two, there is no judgment also because they are untouched by sattva guna, rajo guna, tamo guna, etc. Totally untouched. They are untouched by these gunas, and so therefore what? They are not coming under the spell. So disgusting things do not appear disgusting at all, and they are above that. They are not really coming under the spell of raga and dvesha. So disgusting things they may avoid because they don't want to be near that. But supposing nobody wants to go and stay in the house of a dog eater, but supposing they encountered the dog eater, they will not hold it against that person. That is the idea. Why? This is talked about very nicely in verse number 90. इहैव तैर्जितः सर्गः इहैव तैर्जितः सर्गः येषां साम्ये स्थितं मनः येषां साम्ये स्थितं मनः निर्दोषं हि समं ब्रह्म निर्दोषं हि समं ब्रह्म तस्मात् ब्रह्मणि ते स्थिताः तस्मात् ब्रह्मणि ते स्थिताः Iha eva. Iha means what? Where? Iha means here. Here means what? On earth. Taihi. By such people. Who? The dog eaters? No, no, no. By the one who is endowed with vidya and humility, vinaya. By the panditas. By the panditas, jitaha, overcome. Sargaha. Sargaha means samsara. Sargaha, Srishti, the repeated cycle of birth and death. By here itself, while living they are free, and freely living they have overcome the cycle of birth and death. This was already pointed out. For who are these people? Taihi, who are these Taihi? Yesham samye sthitam manah. Those whose minds are established firmly in equanimity, samadarshinaha. Those people who have the vision of Brahman everywhere, so for them what? They are totally established in equanimity. Samye sthitam manaha. Their minds are established in Brahman. It's going to say in the next line, Nirdosham hi samam Brahma. So what is this Brahman? This Brahman is Nirdosham, without flaws, and Samam, equal. It is not, it doesn't have Bheda. There is no Bheda in Brahman. There is no high, there is no low, nothing. Tasmat, therefore, Brahmani te sthitaha. Therefore, they abide in Brahman. Because in Brahman there is no problem. There are no problems. There is nowhere to go. There is no worries about losing something. There is no worries about being seen in wrong company, etc. So therefore, they are only in Brahman. More we see later on. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ